And money is actually going to end up cannibalizing itself and making itself obsolete. And you'll see how simple this process is. It's quite spectacular. When this penny dropped for me, I thought, how come it's taken me 12 years to figure this out? Because I had to walk that path. I had to go learn. I had to learn all these things. Otherwise, I couldn't understand it. If it was that simple, we'd all be doing it by now, right? That's why these things, and it always takes some guy, some person, somewhere to come up with an idea, and then suddenly everybody, either they kill him or they resonate with it. And in the Truman Show, it tells us that about our reality. You know, when the producer of the show, you realize that the Truman Show is really, it's telling us that we live in this huge synthetic environment, possibly under a dome, and we just accept the reality with which we are presented, and that becomes our reality. And we don't question it, we just accept it. And so my reality while I was growing up, which is an interesting one, and I realized many years later that was possibly it's a very subliminal training for imagining a world without money, because I grew up on the gold mines and platinum mines when my father was a mining engineer. So in the mining towns that I grew up with, obviously you had to be white to have these privileges during those days. Now if you're white, you get no privileges because it's completely swung around in South Africa. It's complete reversal apartheid in many ways. It's incredible. All the young white kids in South Africa just have no prospects of getting any job. It's just so blatantly racist. It's unbelievable. So yeah, it's very sad. It's supposed to be an equalizer, but that's not what it became. I think the dream of Nelson Mandela was completely hijacked. By whom? You know who. So while I was growing up on the mines, everything was free. You know, if you were a mining engineer, you got a house, you got a car, your electricity was paid, your water was paid, your petrol in your car was paid, all the sporting facilities were free, schooling was free, the bus to the school was free, on Sundays you go to the mine club for lunch, the lunch was handed out for free. It was just like a ridiculous utopian lifestyle, as long as you worked for the mine. Now, replace the mine with our community. As long as you work for the community, everything can be free. I hope you can see that. It's such a simple concept. If we as a community own everything in our town, and instead of some guy or a corporation that owns everything, we're working for ourselves. So if we work for ourselves, everything can be free. So subliminally, that just became such a simple foundation for me to imagine a world without money, because we'd never have to pay for anything. Then I'd meet our wealthy friends, because, you know, growing up on the mine, you're not wealthy, you're sort of middle class. And then we'd go to Johannesburg where all the wealthy people live, and I meet all the rich kids from the private schools in Joburg, and they'd go and play golf and pay for the golf. And I go, wow. And their dads would pay rent for their house and have to buy petrol to put in their car. And I go, wow, you pay for all these things? Come and live with us. We get everything for free, dude. It's like, I was young, naive, you know. It's like, and I just thought, hey, man, we have such a cool life. We just get everything for free. So our reality is that competition is good. Competition is the mother of invention. Corporations create jobs and prosperity. And they give us careers. And that the harder you work, the more you'll get. Be a good slave to the system. And be loyal to the system, right? And then we have all-powerful governments that control everything. We have borders, passports, laws, and citizenship. At which point did any one of you agree to become a citizen of the country that you were born into? Did you agree to that any time? And suddenly, before you know it, you're given this paper or a card and say, you're now a citizen of X, Y, Z. So I didn't ask for this, sorry, I don't want to be a citizen of anything. What will happen if you do that? I don't even know what will happen if you just... You can't get a job. You don't get a job, yeah. So, yeah. It's just... You know, it's just so insane. When you start breaking it down to these fundamental components, it is absolute insanity and the most brutal dictatorship, enslavement that anyone could imagine. And so many people still think it's okay. And we believe that money makes the world go round, because all our lives we hear, money makes the world go round, and don't trust anyone. What a horrible world to live in. I want to trust everyone. I don't want to not trust anyone. It's completely the opposite. You should be able to trust everyone with your life because they're your brothers and sisters. We're the human family. If you can't trust your brothers and sisters, why even be here? And all of this stuff that we're talking about is a consequence of money. And the control of money, because it creates this division, the scarcity, the separation, the misery, the drug cartels, the gangster cartels. All of those were created as a consequence of the control of money. So we realize very quickly that competition is not good. It destroys lives, it destroys families, it creates control and scarcity and war and conflict. That's what competition is all about. And I often wonder how in a world free of money, and in this utopian society, what will happen to sport? Because sport is about competition. One team has to beat another. So I've given this a lot of thought, and I haven't yet come up with a solution for that one. That's the one thing that I'm still juggling around. What I'm thinking about is that we still want to do sport. We want to play sport. And I remember when rugby, for example, in South Africa, rugby was not a professional sport. It was still an amateur sport. But guys used to go to work and then on weekends go train rugby and then play for the Springboks while they still had a job. So I think that we'll carry on playing sport, but it'll just take that nastiness out of it. Like soccer has become a religion. It's no longer, it's all about the money and control, and who's going to control the soccer coffers and so forth. And the World Cup soccer thing is the most richest bloody thing in the world, the richest corporation in the world, because they control the World Cup soccer. And so it's all about the money. So if you take the money out of it, only the really gifted people will play the sport that they choose to play, and they'll play it because they want to, not because it's a way out of the ghetto. Right now, so many kids on the street go do boxing or play basketball or whatever because it's one way to get out of the ghetto. So you no longer have to get out of the ghetto, so you'll play sport because you choose to play that sport, and you might be really good. And if you really suck at it, then you're not going to play it. And what's going to happen to musicians?
You don't have to play gracefully, to lose gracefully.
Exactly, to lose gracefully. Yes.
Then you take the stress out, then you still have fun.
Yeah. It's like I love watching South Africa play New Zealand in rugby. Because it doesn't matter who wins, I love the game. I love it when we kick Australia's ass, but, you know. That's for my Australian friends, yeah. Yeah. So it just the whole thing of competition is possibly, and I think that the concept of competition is that sugar-coated poison pill that was given to us, that we swallowed, and we so gung-ho about this competition. Yeah, I'm going to create the best product. I'm going to put everyone else out of business. I'm going to have the best this on the market and that out of market. We're going to shut everybody down. Wow, what a horrible thought, you know. And yet that's how corporations think. Or we're going to just buy everybody up and replace it with our technology. Wow. So we're going to get to this, and how we're going to change this. Not how we're going to change it, how it will change itself once we have a one small town implemented. It's just a very rapid organic process. It happens so quickly, and all this ugly stuff just vanishes and vaporizes from our reality. So we got to replace competition with cooperation and collaboration, because only through cooperation and collaboration on every level do we attain abundance, peace, and prosperity. And it's just an obvious thing that flows. One thing flows to the other. Because only out of unity comes infinite diversity. Think about everything in creation comes out of that first creative thought of the Creator, whatever you want to call it in your personal belief system. It's that unified thought out of which all creation comes. Only out of unity comes infinite abundance, because if it comes from that unity, it all resonates with the same frequency of creation, that original creative thought, that creative process. It originates with that source code, so everything is in coherent harmony. Nothing is in dissonance. Nothing is in conflict. Because if you're not in resonance with a source code creation, you're in dissonance with it. You're in dis-ease with the source code of creation, and you will die. So competition is the complete antithesis for the unity and the coherence and the harmonic resonance of creation. And cooperation and collaboration is a cooperative process, a harmonious process where we work together to expand. You know what happens when you play, a chord on a piano or a guitar? If you play one note, it's beautiful. If you play two notes, it's even better. The moment you play the third note and it creates a chord, how it fills the room. It's a harmonious elevation of all your senses. Just one chord, 3 notes. 2 notes don't quite do it. It's that third note. It's that Holy Trinity. And then it just gets better. The more notes you add, the more it fills the room, the more it fills the space, and the more harmonious it becomes. If you have a choir singing, one guy sings out of tune. Jeez, that's nasty. It's really not good. It just kills the whole thing. No choir with a bad singer is ever going to win American Idol. Or one of those shows, right? Because it's just not going to happen. So how do we look at this? Out of unity comes infinite diversity. And here, our bodies are probably the most simplest and the most perfect example for that. Because our bodies are filled with trillions of cells that all come out of that first cell. Right? It starts with one cell, the fertilized egg, and then it starts to divide. And suddenly you got these trillions of cells that belong to one body group of cells, our community of cells. And then the cells start to divide, and they start to specialize, and they become heart cells, and liver cells, and muscle cells, and gallbladder cells, and skin cells, and brain cells, and lung cells. And even when they gang up, the cells gang up in these specialized groups, they still work together in harmony with all the other cells in the body. The moment they start to work in dissonance with the other cells in your body, what happens to you? You die. Very, very quickly you die, because that's when you get cancer. And that's very simply, just because we don't all do the same thing in our community, just because we gang up in a group of food growers or healers or who knows what, doesn't mean we're now going to be special. We just resonating with what we do, and we work towards the greater benefit of the whole body of cells. So the important thing here is that when people say, well, I'm just so small and insignificant, what I do doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Everybody matters. Every cell matters, because you're one of the trillions of cells that makes up that body. And if your cell gets removed, it affects that body. So don't ever think that you're insignificant. We've got to treat our family or treat our community as our family. If you think about it, when you come down, if you live in a house with an upstairs, if you come down for breakfast in the morning, and if you come out of your room for breakfast in the morning, and your wife and your children are in the kitchen, and you come out there and you make yourself a cup of coffee, and your wife comes in and she grabs some Wheat Bix or something, and your daughter comes and makes some eggs, and your son comes and grabs some orange juice. At which point do you hand your family a bill and say that'd be $5 for the bread, $3 for the orange juice? Sorry, darling, did you have 2 eggs or 1 egg? 2 eggs, okay. So then just remember, it's $5, eh? So do we charge our family for food? So when do we draw that line? Well, how often do you go to the pub on the week? You go to the pub after work and you meet some dudes at the pub or gals at the pub, and you say you really get on with them. Say, hey, I'm having a barbecue at my house on Sunday. Come to my house, and they arrive there. Say, hey, I didn't bring anything. So no worries. Just there's the beer. There's a fridge. Help yourself. There's some meat. Sorry for the vegetarians here. So, or there's some corn on the barbie. And just help yourself. And you don't charge you invited your friend to come to a barbecue. You don't say, sorry, buddy, before you leave, that's $20. Eh? We don't do that. So, and then Monday morning comes, we get on our suit, we get in our car, and we become little corporate monsters. You get on the highway and say, get out of my way. It's like, sorry, that'll be $10, thank you. So we become from these beautiful, loving, embracing, sharing beings to little corporate monsters when we get back into our work frame mode. Isn't it amazing? And we all do it. Well, maybe not you. You look really kind. But so treat your community as your family, and then eventually treat the world as your community, because ultimately this is our world and this is how we should behave. But unfortunately, as you know, we're a deeply divided species, and we divide it on every possible level. Especially the religions play a very important role in this division. And this is not by accident. It's obviously by design. I'm going to probably nurse this cup of coffee for the next 2 hours. So. And we need to get out of this division. And the evolution of what we're doing with the Ubuntu movement is a beautiful transitional phase to get out of the division into unity and unity consciousness. You know, quantum physics more than 100 years ago already showed us that we are the makers of our own reality. We manifest our own reality. So let's start manifesting. Let's start visualizing, like you said. You visualize and you manifest your own reality. And we can do that, but we have to enter the biology of belief, as Bruce Lipton says. And we have to start believing that we can do it, and not be fearful, and because all this stuff is just, it's really all designed very subconsciously and subliminally. And some of you may have, picked up from some of the researchers here how incredibly powerful the manipulative tactics are that are being used against us. They're using tools and technology and frequencies and archons and invisible beings and other dimensional beings that are around us here all the time and just sucking us dry of our energy and affecting the way we think. And it is not good. But we can block that all out. We can block it all out and say, I'm a sovereign being. Nothing is going to come and invade my sovereign space, my sacred space, and influence me in any way. And we can start training ourselves. But that's a choice that we have to make individually. No one can force you to do that. And that's a very interesting thing, how many more people are choosing to go that route and become deeply conscious and spiritual, or whatever the right word is you want to use, and start taking control of their bodies and the effect and that they have on their lives and their friends and families. And the other important thing is that scarcity is a thing that's been shoved down our throats all the time. Oh, there's not enough water, there's not enough this, there's not enough food, people are dying of hunger. They're not dying of hunger because there's not enough food, they're dying of hunger because they don't have money to buy the food. More than 1/3 of the global food production every year gets discarded and destroyed. Not because people don't want to eat it, because they don't have any money to buy the food. And so we live on a planet of infinite abundance. And that's like, Zimbabwe used to be a breadbasket of Africa. South Africa and Zimbabwe used to feed all of Africa. And that was destroyed. Mugabe in South Africa, and in Zimbabwe, and then the political dispensation in South Africa as it is today. Before the ANC took over, South Africa was completely independent. We had everything, because those apartheid years, what they did is they made that country completely self-sufficient. And then the moment the new government took over, they allowed the bankers in. I don't know what deals they did with the bankers, but everything's been destroyed. So every day we face millions of problems. We're told that it's not easy, it's complicated, that our governments are doing the best they can. But it's not simple. It's complicated. No, it's complicated because, you've made it complicated. Yeah. So the solutions are simple. Everyone in this room knows how simple the solutions are. The farmers, the scientists, the engineers, the mothers, the children, we all know how simple the solutions are. And unfortunately, we never allowed to implement our solutions because of bureaucratic red tape and BS. That's simple. Right now, Cape Town is going through an incredible, the worst drought in its entire history.